I'm not an anti-Semite in any way. I never have been, never will be. I have opposed racism in any form all my life. It's the way I was brought up. It's the way I've lived my life.
The man at the centre of the storm speaks. Jeremy Corbyn is the leader of the UK's Labour Party, the leader of the opposition, and for years he's been accused of tolerating anti-Semitism. The charges culminated in an unprecedented protest by the Jewish community. In the past, he's called terrorist groups Hamas and Hezbollah his friends. He invited outspoken Islamic cleric Raed Salah for tea in the UK Parliament. Salah had said that the Jews of Europe historically used the blood of children in their bread, an ancient anti-Semitic blood libel. Corbyn called him a very honoured citizen, and most recently he was found to belong to Facebook groups where anti-Semitism is rife. He also opposed removing an anti-Semitic war mural. Corbyn used to belong to the fringe of left-wing politics. He was elected Labour leader in 2015, and since then, say Jewish leaders, he's led the party into uncharted depths of anti-Semitism. Dozens of accusations of anti-Semitism in the party remain uninvestigated and unresolved. Some put the number at 74. Others say it's much higher. On Monday, British Jews gathered to show they were running out of patience. Corbyn responded by declaring himself their ally in their fight against anti-Semitism. He even gave an interview to a Jewish newspaper.
There is a problem of anti-Semitism within our society. Is there a general problem with everybody who supports the Palestinians' right to exist in peace? No. Are there some people that latch themselves onto that who do hold anti-Semitic views? Obviously, there has been.
The question now is whether any of this will have any effect at all, or will Corbyn and the Labour Party simply move on? Nathan Mintzberg, I24 News.
Now, Justin Cohen is the Jewish News editor who interviewed Corbyn for this report. He spoke with I24 News The Rundown moments ago. Here's a bit of that.
I think he's the person who, above all else, has the power here to make a difference because he has had the background he has and associated with the people he has and has the very passionate following he has. He has a unique responsibility, and I have to say this has been an incredibly turbulent week. But when it's come to the comments that Jeremy Corbyn has been willing to make throughout the week, I have to say they've got progressively more positive, that's for sure. The fact that he was willing to recognise the fact that it's more than just a few bad apples in his party that's the problem. The fact that he was willing to specifically talk about and give examples of modern-day anti-Semitism.
And for more now, we go to our UK correspondent, Jonathan Sacerdoti in London. Jonathan, what other reactions are we hearing across the spectrum in the United Kingdom?
In terms of the media reaction, it's been fairly unanimously in favour of the Jewish community, who have said that they have had enough of Mr Corbyn tolerating anti-Semitism within the party. Similarly, quite a few of his own Labour Party MPs came out to that rally that you saw there in the report in order to show that they too did not think that the situation with anti-Semitism within their own party was acceptable. So in general, it seems that most are behind the Jewish community in their action here, though of course there are some within the Labour Party, including some fringe elements of the Jewish community, who say that they believe that this is all a smear that has been engineered to simply disadvantage the Labour Party under Mr Corbyn in upcoming local elections.
And what kind of a political fallout do you expect could come from this?
It's an interesting question because if you look at the situation, there aren't really very many outcomes that could make things better. Mr Corbyn has had a decades-long career in which he has fraternised with those controversial figures that we mentioned just before. And similarly, he has also allied himself very much with the Palestinian cause to the extent that he has sometimes found himself surrounded by very anti-Israel people who have also been anti-Semitic in their expressions of their preference for the Palestinians in that conflict. That means that Mr Corbyn would have to more or less change a lifetime of beliefs and actions in order to bring with him the fringes of his party, who are now closer to power themselves, because he himself, once a fringe person on the left, is now the leader of the party. So they have felt emboldened by that.
All right, Jonathan Sacerdoti, appreciate that insight from London. Now into studio, UK-Israel political communications specialist David Menzer joins me. David, great to have you with us again. What would have been a sufficient response that the Jewish community would have been happy with? What kind of action would they have liked to see Jeremy Corbyn take?
Well, in an ideal world, this is almost impossible for Jeremy Corbyn to do, but in an ideal world, you would have sensed the sincerity of a man that had a real zero tolerance towards anti-Semitism. But of course, the opposite is absolutely true. This is a man who nurtures it, who welcomes it in his party, who uses it to try and garner support on the far left. I would say it's actually a crucial part of his appeal to far left voters.
But then what was not good enough about this response?
Because it's just simply not believable. Because as Jonathan said, there's 35 years of occurrences when he has sided with the most odious Jew haters around the world, again and again and again. And this is not the sort of politician that changes his mind. You can almost predict everything Jeremy Corbyn says because he is stuck on that far left agenda. He is stuck on that radical agenda, and it's working for him. That is the worrying thing. It's not alienating him from people. He got 40% of the vote last time, and his support is not draining away from this. It's working for him. So why should he change anything?
Now, he was also asked about his reference to Hamas and Hezbollah as friends. He said that he doesn't support their views, but that there has to be a peace process that involves all groups in the Middle East. What's the issue that's being taken with that?
Again, it's just simply not believable. I mean, this is a man who lays wreaths at terrorists' graves. You know, not people who are borderline terrorists. You know, you could say about Yasser Arafat, was he a peacemaker? Was he a terrorist? I would say more closely, unfortunately, a terrorist. But, you know, this is a man that lays wreaths at terrorists' graves. This is not a person that can change, and he will never, ever change, because he does support these groups. It's as simple as that. He'll come out with glib statements, but it's simply unbelievable. And I think people can see right through that.
All right, well, it seems like any effort is doomed from the beginning. We really appreciate that insight here on Perspectives. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.